Welcome back to Exploring Distant Worlds. We have moved forward another year to 2136, and the Akuro Commonwealth is inching closer and closer to victory. We have now just begun to begin colonizing again. This is Buvu Yagan. It's an ocean planet, and the Akdarians went ahead and colonized that for us. There's one other item really worth noting, well, perhaps a couple. We have actually gotten now, if we look at the top colonies, so we have a Curl 1 that is moving up, and you can see really high development level. GDP is high enough to rank above all of other planets except for Reese. And then the population still only at about 8 billion and change. So that's still going to rise up quite a bit more. There was another inconsequential war that has happened. The Kludar Hive have found another enemy, but that doesn't really matter given how far away they are from us. So we will continue ignoring that. Gradual expansion continues. We have grabbed the two continental planets that were within range, doing about one per year. The Iskabar over here, this is going to be hard to get fuel at. There's no real good places around to mine it. Doing much better at Fremisk Yagan, where we have some resupply ships set up, and we're cleaning out pirates in both of those areas. But we've also run into another war that I think is actually one I'm going to want to get involved in. And that is involving the Shandar here in the orange and the Rylith Consortium, the pink around the top. And they have far more planets, but they appear to be somewhat of a paper tiger. If we look at our diplomatic situation, you can see our military power, 86,000 and change. So by comparison, we have the Shandar at 4,000. They have 6 colonies, about 17 billion people. The Rylith Consortium have over 3 times as many colonies, but actually fewer people. Basically, their population is really spread out, and a lot of their colonies suck, and only slightly more military. So it's not immediately obvious who would actually win this. Note that both races are stupid, so sort of the idiots of the galaxy beating up on each other to an extent. But I still want to enter this and clear out some of the Shandar territory. It's just going to help us, and it will give us access further up to this upper left area of the galaxy. It's also time for us to do some more research. So we are just about to finish up with desert colonization, and we want to add more in the high-tech and industrial. That's sort of the impetus beyond this. And we're going to have 3 more than wonders that we're going to consider getting up to. So we have genetic rewiring will give us the Coloros Medical Academy, 30% growth rate in the entire empire. So these are wonders that give us an empire level effect. And then here, whoops, that'll be a little bit easier to see. The holographic universe, 30% empire happiness. Good, but probably not as good as the growth. And then the trade guild, 20% empire income. So I'm most interested in the growth rate. We are going to just head up to this next. And then, income, happiness, probably a couple sides of the same coin. But I'm just going to go with the income. And then we'll go with the happiness here. And then we could look around, probably going to want to get the regional capital there. That's going to be a nice upgrade. And then I think I'll just fill in the rest of this next tier. And largest troop transport there. A lot of this is pretty similar to what we've already seen. And just for the fun of it, I will go back and get that one docking improvement there at the end. So, energy and construction, we have increased our engines, haven't done anything with them yet. So we're working on the next hyperdrive. Onward and upwards we go. And then we've, of course, got all of the other items over there that we're going to be looking at. But I think when all of those are finished, I'm going to head up here to this tier for the improved construction size even larger. And if we last the game that long, I'll probably at that point do another ship retrofitting. But I don't need to do it until then. And the price of this, I mean, it's really high. So it's going to take quite some time to actually get to that and finish it. And then on the weapons side, there's very little in the next tier that's actually going to be really interesting. There is a new type of armor, the reactive armor. And then the only really completely new type of component that we might get is right here, the gravitic distortion field. So that's what I'll head with when I'm done with the current levels. And this is essentially an area effect gravity weapon. So you can see it's pulling everything towards a blast point, damages everything within the radius, and also bypasses both shields and armor. So that'll be sort of interesting to play around with, although I doubt we will get to it. And then I think after that, we're simply going to run through the usual drill. You know, I could prioritize some items like maybe the improved strike craft, but again, it simply is not that important. At this stage, we are getting some new weapons. For example, the assault missiles here replacing the concussion missile, but nothing that's really actually new in its type or capability. It's just a more advanced version of what we're already using. Improved boarding, improved interception damage, etc. Of course, the outcome of the war with the Shandar, not in doubt anywhere, but it is worth looking at a couple items that are a little bit different. One is that we don't have anybody in deep cover. So they are hitting us over here, and they hit us a little bit before we were ready for it, knew they were coming. You can see our detection range is limited at this stage. So we're sending one of our fleets into their main system of Shandar. We've captured Abigradu Rai, and we're working on basically logistically getting all of our troops in place. We don't have to build up an army, we already have one, but we're trying to get everybody over here to the Vintueni system as our staging area to move into their homeworld. And let's just take a look at how this battle goes. We just have one of our local garrison fleets, a handful of ships, taking on, this is their second fleet. And we can see, okay, they've got some frigates, size about 300, firepower 112. This is another frigate. Now there's a cruiser, the Nicaragua 7, size 400, firepower 140. And that's about half as much as our top-of-the-line ships. So just gives you a bit of the scale of it. They aren't completely wimpy compared to us, but we definitely have the upper hand, both on a per-ship basis and, of course, in sheer numbers, it's laughable. About 20 to 1, our empire compared to theirs. So they did blow up our spaceport, but that's a temporary loss, and it's not really a big question what's going to happen here. We don't have any of our hyperspace denied components in this particular battle, so okay. And they went towards Endosan 4. This is actually back where this group of ships came from. We took some significant damage, but we'll be fine. So we're going to just send this fleet back there and make sure that that is guarded against and wipe out whatever the remnants are. Incoming ships with our troops and all of that. Then we're going to come in here and make sure that we build up a new spaceport. And then we will send in, this is where we've loaded up a bunch of our troops. So I want you to come over here as well. This is the group that has the 2 transports, and also our general is about to join it. So let's take a look then at what's going to happen with our fleet here as it approaches the Shandar system itself. And now we're getting a bit of a reading on what's going on in there. And I'm going to switch these once again to only engage when attacked, because I want to see if we can prompt any response here, as usual, and defeat their ships away. There we go. Now I'll switch you to nearby targets. That's what I'm going to want. And this is the well, we could see it for a minute. Yeah, this little wavy thing, that's the hyper deny field. That means anything in that cannot escape. Wars ended between the Kaidania and the Kludar Hive. You can see now our hyper deny area is going off over there, so people are running around everywhere else. Let's go ahead and now drop in here and hit they got a couple weapons platforms. And the war has begun again. Why would they have peace and just declare war again? That's one of the things that really annoys me about, just, it probably shouldn't bother me that much, but the AI in a lot of strategy games does things like that. There we go. There's strike craft coming after us. This isn't a group of ours, of course, that has carriers, but we're shooting down their strike craft just fine. And we've already rebuilt our spaceport. We are taking some damage here. We actually haven't lost any ships yet, though. And this, of course, is where our repair bots are really going to come in handy. Thanks for the cash that we don't need. You can see we're over 2 million. Spaceport's down. Weapons platform's down. Okay. So this is now secure. They do have another small planet in the system, but it should be a minor issue for us to just rally our troops. In they come. And eventually smack aside any resistance and attack Shandar. Well, it's time now to invade another homeworld. This time it's Shandar, not the Gazurians, and this one should be definitely easier. We'll have even more firepower here, and there's much more we could have taken that wouldn't fit in our transports. But there is one transport with troops, there's another. They temporarily had planetary defense facilities, now they don't. And, well, this is going to be pretty one-sided, as we can see. But there was an interesting event that happened. So if we just take a look down through the events that we have seen, right here, Ancient Guardians, the leader P2D2 has been killed. I certainly hope I don't have to explain what that reference is to. But it must have been an assassination attempt, which is not easy against the Ancient Guardians. So that's actually quite impressive that somebody pulled that off, because their territory is still intact. So it's not a case of them being invaded by somebody. And we are just going to wear them out, as we have seen. And after a few more weeks of fighting, they are just about done for. There we go. Shandar belongs to us. And we did kill their leader, Uza Hakra. Now, the overall picture here, if we zoom out, we do have, again, the one more planet there. We've seen this movie before. We've got to clear up the last of their planets, and getting fuel range to there will probably be the most time-consuming part of that. But it's a foregone conclusion, of course. And our overall victory conditions are up to 76%. So I think we're probably not going to quite get there, but we're going to get real close by the end of this war. We'll see how that works out. It turns out we don't have as much work to do to win as I thought. We're about to tip over the edge by capturing the moon Ani here in this system. The second planet in the Shandar system was a continental one, and it boosted our score a little bit more than I thought. So we're up at 79% now. But before we actually go ahead and conclude it, I do want to wrap up some loose ends. On the tech side, we have genetic replication. I didn't mention before, didn't notice it was here, the troop cloning facility, which is apparently an excellent way to boost your troop production in the late game. Strongest current troop in your empire is cloned. Of course, we don't need that. Most of the advances we could get are just upgrades on what we currently have, and not that really worth noting. But there are some that we do want to look at. The advanced colonization here boosts your population when you colonize a planet from 30 million to 100 million, so that's sizable. And then we've got the ice and volcanic colony growth rate doubled, so that means all of our planet types would have doubled growth rates at that point. Why we would want to spend 15 million research to get advanced stealth, I have absolutely no idea, but it is there as an option. Energy and construction, again, mostly going to advance our shields, advancing our reactors. But down further, we have advanced energy secrets. And this actually allows us to convert energy to fuel. It's sort of the ultimate conclusion of the energy collector tree. Of course, we would have to get the mining examples as well to actually be able to unlock it, but still, that's quite an incredible, powerful ability. We could eventually boost our ship size, you can see, up to 1,500, and right now, we're only at 800, so we can literally almost double it even from where we are now and build some absolutely stupid large designs. And then on the weapon side, well, we've got the gravitic singularity. which is an even more powerful, ultimate version of the gravitic distortion field. There also is various upgrades to the beam weapons and so on, but one more wonder that we can get in this area. Under impregnable structures, we could get the Mercador Planetary Fortress. Now, the colony development might be worth it, but this late in the game, defending one planet, I just don't see the value in that extra colony defense. I mean, with the massive fleets you're going to be throwing around by the time you would ever reach this. And then I also think some of the names for these are interesting. Tactical Supremacy. We have super heavy armor, indestructible compounds. So definitely not subtle in the naming as we reach the high end. On the population side, I never used it, but I just wanted to max out my population. But it is worth noting that we were assimilating everybody, but we can take race families or all races and just do other options, just flat out eliminate them, enslave them, tell them to go somewhere else, resettle to another planet, so we can do penal colonies of a sort, or just tell them that they can't come here. So if you're wanting to have, shall we say, a less accepting empire, then that is very much a possibility that you can do. And there's also another event that came in that I think is supposed to shake up the mid-game, but, well, we got too quickly to the finish line for it to really occur. But a legendary pirate faction showed up. And I'm going to use the editor to sort of cheat a bit so we can see where it is. And at least one location is over here. These are the Yavin Marauders. And if we dive in here, so they've got bases and they've got some orbital defense areas. And if we look around the system, they've got a couple ships there. Pretty good group down here. So they are not pushovers. And I want to look a little bit more detail. Edit empires. And then we can see, if we look at their ships and bases, exactly what they have. Now, their pirate bases aren't that impressive to me. 574 firepower. We've taken down some, and the shields actually aren't that high at all. But some of their ships are a little bit different. For example, they have carriers here. Those are pretty decent. We've got some cruisers. These are roughly equivalent to the ships that we currently are fielding. Not quite as big, but we could upgrade, of course. But these are our current ones that we have in operation that are about 650 size. And the firepower is pretty similar to what we're able to pack on them. Our ships are a little faster. So even match, I would say, roughly there. But then they also have a capital ship design, which would be better than anything we currently have. Now, there's no question. I mean, I could easily throw together a fleet of 100 ships without even trying with the income that we have. And stomp them and blow them up. I mean, it wouldn't be a challenge to deal with it. But if we weren't in a situation we were as dominant in the galaxy as we are, and have our advanced government and all that, this could definitely really throw a thorn in everything. And you at least used to, I don't know if it's still the case, you used to be able to get a bunch of tech from them when you destroyed their bases. So definitely one option, and there are other events that can happen to shake things up. So let's go ahead and head back to Ani then, and let's declare victory. And that's actually a different area that they're fighting over. This is where the moon is. And boom, we've got it. We destroyed another Shandar leader. And if we look at our comparison, we are at 80%. Kaidania and Katame holding on at 30%. Our two earliest potential strong opponents are still there. We just have to wait for the game to decide that we have actually, in fact, won. And there it is. You have achieved victory. We can see our score, a little bit over 1 million. We have all kinds of awards that we can cycle through. And you can see the comparison of some of the other empires, how well they did. Some at over 100,000. And they get various medals as well. But this was very much a romp for the last several episodes, at least. So, as a whole, I think Distant Worlds is interesting. It also is one that, it's sort of, I like it as a different flavor, not something I would want to play all the time, at least for my own enjoyment. Because just it feels like work more than anything else. There's a lot of items like the exploration that if I automate it, then they're not going to catch all the ruins, the derelict ships. So I have to do it myself, but then it just feels very micromanagey. The private sector, I think, is really interesting the way that economy works, and I think that really adds to the game. I like the fact that unless you've totally broken the economy like we did here, you have a research cap that really keeps you from escalating too extremely above everybody else. The whole Pirate Wars era of the galaxy and all the early game battles with the pirates, I think that's an interesting approach as well. So there's a lot of cool stuff, the various victory conditions of the different factions and some of those interactions, and we wouldn't really be able to see the full picture, as it were, unless we did a game that was more evenly balanced, like maybe perhaps taking it up a couple of difficulty levels and then not going with the way of the ancients if we found it. Probably somewhere in that range should be balanced. Whatever you find that's balanced to your skill, and that would make a lot of the decisions more interesting. What type of designs I wanted to use, how many ships could I really afford to defend versus attacking, would have had to take a lot more risks under that type of a scenario. But my personal preference runs to games that are more focused. Like, given the choice, I would definitely play the original Master of Orion 9 times out of 10 over Distant Worlds. I just think it's a superior experience. I like the idea of, I don't know if you call it reductive design, but of having gameplay interesting elements come out of a very small amount of systems, but that are well designed to interact, as opposed to the whole kitchen sink approach of Distant Worlds. But if you like a kitchen sink strategy game, if you like a kitchen sink 4X or simulation, I think that Distant Worlds is the best combination of those two, probably the only really good combination of those two. But it clearly has a unique place, and there's no other game that does what it does. So I think it is very interesting and valuable for that purpose. So thanks for watching, and at least for now, Exploring Distant Worlds is signing off.